And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good morning to you. Hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where weekly we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Had some exciting things go down, and not so exciting things go down in the past week. We'll cover all those for you and get into some discussions on them. We as we like to do, we kind of announce the crew for the day and what they've been up to. We've got three in the house today, as Case is off in transition. He's moving back to Louisville. So welcome back home, Case, after being down US 60 and I-64 just a ways in Shelbyville. He's headed back to the Ville. And Daryl, of course, busy with her duties with the bats today. So have to excuse those two from the broadcast, but me, Jeff, and Jared will carry on for you and give you the best that we can in here. As and let's just go ahead and catch up with the guys while we're at it here as well. Jared's had a busy week of some photo taking, and will continue to do so. What else is going on, buddy?
Yeah, it's been grad photos galore. On top of that, getting ready to perform a concert next weekend, so we've been having plenty of rehearsals, and then finally switched over to doing commercial underwriting full time. I was kind of half and half back and forth helping out the customer service team while they got a bunch of new folks trained. So this was my first week doing 100% commercial underwriting only. Uh, a lot more relaxing, low stress. The time constraints aren't nearly as strong, so it's been nice for me, especially because I can focus more on kind of the photography aspect too.
So how difficult are the concert lines for the DSLR instrument?
Do what?
How complicated are the orchestra lines and for the DSLR instrument?
If I could learn how to turn the camera into a musical instrument besides just percussive
I was gonna
purposes,
say it's a little bit of percussion there,
I was like, you can get a lot of non-tonal based noises out of it, and some may require a hammer or something to get out. But no, just whipping the phonium back out and wiping the dust off.
Yeah.
Getting ready for a nice concert outside at one of the out at Iroquois Park, which will be nice.
Thinking this fall, you and field hockey and maybe women's soccer, you get out there with your DSLR and have a full company of IT specialists around you, and maybe even a couple members of the lacrosse team to protect you bodily. Okay, and
Yeah.
just get out there and put on a show, buddy, for the national anthem.
Well, we've got a technical expert here with us. Maybe he'll figure out how to convert that for us.
Only if he can do it remotely. That's
Yeah.
Jeff's thing. There,
Yeah.
Jeff does not make any live appearances anywhere except it's a occasional trip to the grocery store, and every once in a while to go out and see if his grass is still growing.
That's what ACC Network and Network Extra are for, though, so you can watch games remotely.
Right.
Indeed, it was. I was having fun with that this morning. As a matter of fact, watching a little rowing. They were taking place down in Clemson's big lake down there. Not so great for the cars, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I just love to watch rowing. It's so much fun.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, this boat's gaining, this boat isn't gaining. Where's the Louisville boat? Yeah, we finally made the screen.
Let's not say it's so bad for the cards yet, but we can get into that a little bit.
It's an upward trajectory for rowing.
Okay.
And everything you're watching this morning is the grand finals too.
Yes.
So,
and when you come in 6 out of 6, gee, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's progress.
Well,
yeah.
We'll talk about it.
It's a good thing there wasn't a 7th team in there. We would have been 7th.
I just don't think it's as bad as you.
We will have a discussion later on in rowing for sure. I can tell that. I've got it earmarked already. And we'll move on over to Jeff. Now, Jeff, a busy week for you, getting ready to get a little vacay time in down the road. And
Yep. I got actually quite a bit of vacation time. So, yeah, gonna enjoy that. Take a little bit of break from work, kind of reset mentally, emotionally a little bit as well. So, work has had some struggles of late, so that's good. We've got some things helping there, and other than that, just fighting sinuses.
No.
Yeah. been really messing with me the past week or
Hello,
two.
tree pollen. Oof.
Yeah, and I haven't been like congested, like traditionally congested, but I've had all like an inflammation up in there. I have taken COVID tests negative, so just double checking. Yeah, it's been causing me some problems, causing me some sleep problems, really, actually. So a little bit sleep deprived. So if I sound a little off the wall, well, if I sound more off the wall than usual, yeah,
Will we be able to tell a difference? Let's
right.
check it.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the new normal. So
Jeff starts talking about white floaties going on in front of him.
Yeah.
It's probably something coming off a tree and not his own personal view.
Yeah.
Okay. As for myself here, it's been kind of a busy week. I've been interviewing lawn care services as Sony and I have decided to retire the mower.
enjoy life.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was looking back on it, Jeff. This is something that y'all will appreciate. I have cut grass for 50 years of my life. 50 years of my life, taking over from my dad when I was a sophomore in high school, and then either cutting the yard I'm at now primarily most of the time, except when I was in Indy and had to turn that over to a neighbor, but my own home as well and other places. It's I think I've seen my share of lawnmowers, okay, and somebody who's had to kind of help me with it here lately. She's very happy that we're going to get a lawn service.
Yeah.
You can well imagine. So,
Paul, you ready to feel old?
I feel old every morning I wake up, Jared.
You've been cutting grass almost twice as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, so you got some catching up to do. But you don't cut grass since you live in a place that doesn't have grass to cut, right?
I used to do a little neighborhood lawn mowing business back in the day, and I was up to about 5 yards at one time.
I think he just volunteered, Paul.
There you go. If my guy doesn't show up,
Lawn mowing and photo shoot. Yeah,
I'll send one of my clones out there.
But you know what's going to happen? He's going to be out there cutting grass. He'll be taking selfies of himself, Jeff, the whole time.
Yeah.
He'll probably run over some of Sonya's prize flowers, and then there's that whole thing about cutting next to the street.
You just got to blow the stuff back into the yard and not leave it on the street.
I've got a mulching mower. Hey, no blow.
Oh, that's even better for you. That's better for the grass.
Yeah, I'm just kind of worried how you might be able to handle a mulching mower, though. Yeah, it's one thing.
I'll talk some of the athletes into, hey, for these pictures, what about we get you cutting the grass?
Yes.
All I need is Corby Otis and Taylor Roby working up a sweat in my front yard trying to cut around trees. That's exactly what I need. And I'm sure Holly would love that as well. Probably would tell them to keep their hands away from the moving parts of the lawnmower. Yeah. Please. I've swatted their hands in cotton gauze and steel gloves. Nothing happening here.
Well, they have those mitts they wear when they run the bases, right? There you go.
Yeah, that way when the lawnmower might kind of run through them pretty quick.
That way when they're diving back into base, they don't break a finger.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't want them stopping and having an impromptu game with, pine cones out in the front yard. Come on, hurl that cone in here. Come on, throw it, Roby. Boom. Uh-oh. Just hit a cop car. Uh-oh, run. Yeah. So, fun things going on for all of us, but this is the part of the show where we get into a little scheduling and Twitter information. And since Jeff never does it, I don't feel like doing it. At least one person left to do it. So, Jared, put down your camera and give us some scheduling and Twitter information, sir, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the final day of the Rowing ACC Championships this morning that kicked off officially at 8:05 a.m. and completed about an hour ago from now. So we'll hit those results later on and kind of go over how the cards did in the finals. The ACC Championships, Outdoor Championships, is on their final day down in Durham, North Carolina. We've already seen some ACC winners for some of our women's athletes down there, so just some great news to cover. Baseball begins day 2 of the 3-game series at number 3 Virginia Tech. That's a top 10 matchup if you tune into ACC Network at 1 o'clock. Moving on over to, we could also go on and say it's graduation day at UofL as well. There's a commencement ceremony going on as we speak, so definitely congratulations to both athletes, non-athletes, anybody who's stepping on stage or is out traveling, can't step on stage. Quick bit there. Moving on to Sunday, baseball will wrap up their series at Virginia Tech. Moving ahead next week, there's not really a lot of women's sports going on. I guess it's going to depend on what happens tomorrow night with the NCAA selection show, whether softball will find themselves dancing or not, as women's golf concluded their season. And track and field won't start their NCAA outdoor championships for quite some time. So really the only women's sports we could be looking at next week/weekend would be softball, depending on what happens with the selection show. So real quick schedule. Yeah, you can tell we're getting over to summertime. We'll run over to Twitter real quick. Case, who is absent from our radio podcast today, it tweets out as best case scenario, BST, no E in the word best. Daryl, who's out, but her boyfriend's got a big concert going on somewhere in town this evening. If you want to hit her up on Twitter, she tweets out as at Daryl Faust 4, just the number 4 on that one. Jeff has a couple Twitter accounts. He'll tweet out as at Jeff McAdams and at Card Couple Radio for the sports related news. Paulie tweets out as Cardinal Couple. He had a lot of softball information going on there. And then myself, I tweet out as Mr. Anderson Jared. And we're only at a couple minutes through scheduling on Twitter, and we're done already.
Yes, we are getting into that time of year where the scheduling in Twitter does become a little less crowded for us as we get into the days of Cardinal athletics where there's just not a lot of events to report on. But certainly that's what we've experienced every year here. I'm sure that's not changing. So moving on into things, we've got quite a few things actually we could cover today. I'm going to go ahead and start it on out with softball, since that was the kind of one of the more recent events that the Cards were involved in. And Louisville, of course, going into the ACC tournament as they took to the field on Wednesday and came in as an 8th seed, faced Syracuse, who was the 9th seed, for the dubious honor of playing number 1 seed Virginia Tech the next day if you won. So unfortunately for the Cards, their bats just weren't there in this one, and fell 2-0 to Syracuse at the field in Pittsburgh. So Louisville eliminated from the ACC tournament. And this was just a tough loss because Louisville's bats, Jared, they just never showed up.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch this one at work on my phone, and there were times you'd see a base runner get on, and you're thinking, okay, cool, we just got to move around one run at a time, because there's only a 2-0 deficit. It's not like it was a big blowout. And offense just was having difficulty being able to piece together any hits or get the ball into gaps. There weren't a ton of strikeouts. There were a few in there in the game, but we were seeing a lot of pop-ups and a lot of just ground balls right to infielders, and that's not how you're going to win ball games with your hit placement. So unfortunately, the offense went dead quiet, and I'm afraid that may have been the killer that's going to keep them out of the NCAA tournament.
3 things that we've talked about before when it comes to softball is, first of all, getting hits to put people on base, moving those people around the base to reach home plate with RBIs, and third of all, doing that more effectively than your opponent, outscoring them. Jeff, Louisville had 1 hit in this game, and that came from Jenna Servey in the bottom of the 6th inning. So, yeah, they just really were having a hard time with the pitcher that was thrown against them.
Yeah, really, honestly, yeah, you gotta say, not a whole lot of offense on either side of the ball. I mean, obviously Syracuse is, got 2 runs and there's some offense there, and that was a 2-run homer. But even out beyond that, there's wasn't a whole lot of offense from either team in this one. You look at the play-by-play and the stat sheet, and it's most of the half-inning blocks are 4 or 5 lines. Right, there's not a whole lot going on there. So I didn't get a chance to watch this one in person, but yeah, you got to get the bats going. If you can succeed in basically keeping the other team from doing too much, which sounds like mostly we did. But if you got you can't just completely play defense. You do have to have some protection, some amount of protection in order to get on the board, and that was just missing. So, Survey gets on base some. She's not a high on base percentage, but she does, and but when she's your biggest production, it's a little challenging. It's going to be a little bit of a challenging situation. So, got to figure out the pitchers a little quicker than that.
Syracuse doing their damage in the third inning on the Cards and doing their damage with the 2 outs in that inning, but got one of their runners on base, and then she would safely steal second base before ending her trip around the bases on a home run, which made it to 2-0. And that was all the scoring in the game. Taylor Roby did not throw a bad game besides that one pitch that she got up a little bit that they took out to dead center. She allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, facing only 27 batters. We have seen Jared so many times this year. If Roby can throw you a 4-hitter and we allow just 2 runs, that's a Cardinal win.
Yeah, normally it is. And you'll see Roby as a pitcher isn't a big strikeout pitcher. And you've got pitchers who all their productivity comes through strikeouts, and you've got pitchers like Roby who are just going to throw strikes and force players to put the ball in play. And that's where the pitch placement comes in a lot more, is you want to get it in a comfortable spot for the batter so they do have poor contact made. And for the most part, I thought Roby pitched really well. There's a couple times she's kind of toying out different pitches that she doesn't normally look. She doesn't run a razzball much, and that's where the home run came off of. And the other thing was this Syracuse team knew we're down to very few pitchers, and Roby's trying to limit her pitch count. So she's going to be throwing a lot more strikes. She's not going to take risks with trying to hit corners as much. So putting the bat out and putting the ball in play was expected, and it just happened to be a great connection on the one for the home run. And you have to assume your offense is going to support your pitcher and back your pitcher. And like you mentioned, just one hit, that's not going to cut it. You'll never win a ball game with just one hit unless it's a walk-off home run and a 1-0 ball game. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen in the game of softball sometimes.
Maybe a scenario where you get one hit, but the other team's defense makes 5 errors and you get 6 bases on balls. That's a possibility, but one hit normally just isn't going to get you anywhere. And then on the Cards, so in their regular season and their ACC tournament run with a 27-25 record, they'll be waiting this weekend, of course, to hear what's going on with the NCAA selection show. That's a 7 p.m. broadcast scheduled for Sunday, and this will be on ESPN2. Jeff, I hope to hear Louisville's name here, but I'm not overly optimistic that I will.
No, it's definitely going to be a challenge. We thought, some of our discussion, we thought a win against Syracuse would help that quite a bit, advance a little bit, kind of in that, recency bias of how they tend to look at that. We hope they might be able to kind of squeak in there. I don't think it's likely, but you never know what the NCAA is going to do on some of these. So we'll see.
If I remember correctly, I think what the RPI was 41. Jared, am I pretty close on that for the Cards going into the tournament?
Yeah, going in the tournament, they sat right at 41. They had dropped a couple spots with the sweep at Notre Dame. And you'll see some teams that hover right about 40 might sneak in. And typically those are the teams that they're going to pass the eye test. You're going to look at a lot of your late season results and then kind of your results against some ranked opponents. And I think Louisville went 2-10 approximately against ranked opponents this year. So not a pretty figure, but I think losing to Syracuse that opening round, besides dropping in the RPI again, is just going to cause them to be on the outside looking in.
Okay. Do you know what Syracuse's RPI is?
Let's see if I can. I'm going to let y'all keep talking while I do some
Jared's
research
looking
on that.
at that. Just one of the things that you do have to count on too is automatic qualifier is always a big part of any NCAA tournament, and I would think, obviously, Jeff, the more automatic qualifiers that were not the conference top teams to win
Sure.
is going to cut in, obviously, on Louisville's chances of
Yeah,
getting into the tournament.
Yeah, that's always the case in any sport. You want if you're on that on that bubble, you want your top teams to get those automatic qualifier bids because those top teams are going to get in anyway. So if they don't get that AQ, then they're going to be taking up the at-large bids, and that RPI number is going to get tighter and tighter as in these sports. So that's the case as much in softball as it is anywhere else.
As it'll be, for the ACC tournament, because number one, Virginia Tech gone now. You've got a playoff going on between Clemson and Duke today to determine who will get that AQ.
Right. So, there's very little doubt that Virginia Tech is getting in, right? So that's an example of one. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So Syracuse is 86 in the RPI. So they are way down there.
Yeah. So Syracuse isn't going to get in, but that's going to be.
And the Cards dropped to 44 in the RPI. So it's pretty much over.
That's not a great look.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at it, I think you could probably see, I think, at least 4, maybe 5 ACC squads getting in. I think Notre Dame will probably end up getting a bid. Obviously, the 2 teams playing today.
I think you got 6 that make it. Virginia Tech, who's been top 2 all year in the NCAA, and even that loss isn't going to do anything other than solidify Oklahoma's position as the top overall seed with their 49-1 record. Yeah, so Virginia Tech, Florida State's been riding top 3 in the country all year as well. Win or lose today, Florida State's they're gonna host a regional, super regional. I think Virginia Tech will host a regional and super regional. They're both gonna be those top 8 seeds. Clemson actually sits at 8 in the RPI as of games through May 13th, so that's yesterday. So Clemson is in either way based off RPI and their 39-14 record. If they're gonna put as much emphasis on RPI as they have in the past, a win is just going to be an automatic lock, which is fine. I think no matter who wins for ACC tournament, either team was going to be in either way.
Yeah, Clemson may be playing for the super regional hosting even at that point.
Right. I think Clemson wins today, beats Florida State. I think Clemson's going to be a third ACC team that's going to host a super regional, which would be remarkable because you're looking 8 teams host supers. Wonderful. And Duke,
and to be clear, we say we're talking about hosting super regional. You do have to get through the regional before that happens.
Yeah,
but yes,
so, you lose in the regional, you're done.
Right.
Duke had a chance to host a super regional as well. Losing to Florida State yesterday ended those hopes. They're 9th in the RPI right now, which you're looking at 4 ACC teams top 10 RPI is phenomenal. You've got Notre Dame, who's 19th in the RPI. They're ranked top 25 going into the ACC tournament anyways. They're pretty much a lock. Georgia Tech's 23rd in the RPI. They're rocking a 37-16 record, and they were in the receiving votes category for the coaches poll and all of those. So I think Georgia Tech's going to be your other 16 that gets in. And from there, I just don't see ACC getting more than 6 this year. I think the Cards were kind of a borderline team that needed a win and shot themselves in the foot.
That is a pretty solid 6, though. So I think last year the ACC got 5 in the softball tournament. So
correct.
And, one more would be nice, certainly, and we'll hope that when's the last time that the NCAA smiled favorably on Louisville? Probably back when I was cutting grass as a teenager, right? But let's hope that maybe they give the Cards a little bit of credit and certainly give the nation a chance to see Carmen Greenwood and Taylor Roby and some of our other stars. And
Louisville sits ahead of Virginia in RPI. Virginia's all the way at 57th, and the Cards are 44. So, in the records, they're near identical. So, if Virginia gets in over Louisville, I'm going to raise some questions on that.
Yeah, table flipping. Yeah,
absolutely. So, it's not their rowing team; it's their softball team. Remember that, NCAA. Despite bowing out in the first round of the tournament, the Cards did receive some very nice accolades, though, for some of their student athletes that play softball. Let's go ahead and maybe start it out with Carmen Greenwood. getting named to the All-ACC first team. She, of course, led the Cards in batting average this season. She was also tops in the ACC in hits and runs scored, second in RBIs. So just a phenomenal season for Carmen. And yeah, this is her second straight All ACC honor, and just a very, very fitting tribute to somebody who came in here and just really kind of said, "Okay, I'm going to hit that ball a ton. You can't keep me out of the lineup. I'm going for it."
Yeah, I think she's earned herself an ace or an All-American honor, just based off everything she's done this year. She finishes in the 400s batting average, and just like all the stats you mentioned there, she was just a player you could expect and know was going to find a way to get on base and score a run. And she didn't steal much this year. She was 7 for 7 on steal attempts, which both of those figures lead the team. Oh no, her attempts are second on the team, but successful steals is correct. But I think she just had a wonderful all around year. She had great productivity out in the outfield, multiple diving catches. She threw some players out running home with her strong arm from left field. So I think there's a strong case you can make for her to be an All-American.
She's not coming back to Louisville next year, from what I
No,
understand.
she's out of eligibility.
Her COVID year is gone and all that stuff as well too. So right, okay, but certainly very, very grateful for what she's done here, and I was here, of course, with her sister Cassidy, who had seen some playing time up to this year where she didn't really see a whole lot of it, but certainly coming up here from Auburn, they came in and did some wonderful things for this Louisville program, especially Carmen. Jeff, we also need to mention a certain girl from Mount Washington getting some honors. Here is Taylor Roby, named to the All-ACC third team. She, of course, led the Cards in home runs with 15 during the regular and conference schedule, which was also good enough to be second in the entire conference in home runs. Roby has been obviously the ace of the pitching staff for Louisville all season long, throwing over 160 innings with over 100 strikeouts, and also getting a career high 15 wins for her. Second time she's made an all ACC honor team, as she was definitely the ace of the staff. And at a time where you just kind of took a look at what the Cards had 3 years ago in pitching compared to now, Roby's the lone stander here, you know?
Yeah, like you said, she's definitely the ace of the staff. We've got some other pitchers that are coming on that are showing some promise, but she's been the regular foundation of it, doing with some great outings. You also mentioned home run market, and obviously some of this is going to end up being with a little bit of an asterisk in the record books, but she's also pretty high up on the career home run mark for school records. So
she needs two.
She needs two.
Or 2 to tie, 3 to take sole possession
of first place in that. Yeah. So, which, she may not get at this point, which is frustrating. But obviously that's an impressive career outing. Obviously with COVID year, that's what I said, there may be a little bit of an asterisk on that, but certainly shout out to her for that, for great making her mark that way as well. Both sides of the, both pitching and hitting is always a lot of fun to see.
I'd love to see her get that. So I think we ought to just later on this morning, Holly calls up Bellarmine and says, "Hey, y'all want to get a doubleheader in? We're not doing anything today. How about you all?
Just leave a fastball hanging right over the middle of the plate.
We'll come to your place. That's fine. We'd love to play you." And we're thinking a doubleheader. Taylor could pound 2 more out.
Just stop the traffic on Newburgh and,
that's right.
Let her swing away,
If they're playing lacrosse, no, I guess they're not playing lacrosse out there today either, are they? So, yeah, just to put up a stop sign up there, right past Valley Vista. You don't know what's coming.
That's right.
Could be a Roby fly.
And I think her batting numbers kind of went downhill over the final few weeks because she had to put so much emphasis on pitching being really the ace of the crew.
So season, the ace of the ace pitchers. There's probably some ready to take a little bit of a break is my guess.
Yeah, it'll be good the off season, assuming we don't make the tournament, then the off season would start a little bit sooner than expected, but it would give Roby more time for a break. You've got a chance to continue working with Taja Felder and Sambu in the off season to improve them. Gabby Holloway is expected to be back in terms of limited pitches for fall ball and good to go for normal spring. And we're supposed to have a freshman pitcher coming in. So with 5 considered active and healthy, I doubt we go to the transfer portal for a pitcher. But you never know. Holly Abro may find one that she really absolutely loves and brings them in.
And Taylor may end up playing something like Athletes Unlimited too. You know, there are still options out there for players to play beyond college eligibility.
Absolutely so. We also saw an ex-card pitcher in Danielle Watson yesterday doing work for Florida State down there. She got them all to the final inning, and unfortunately they tagged her for a couple long balls there. But she was on this staff at one time too. So if we could find another Danielle Watson, that would be probably pretty good as far as efficiency goes. Let's not forget Corby Otiso. She was named to the All ACC freshman team. Guys, third in the team in batting with her average, and she was also the only freshman to start every game for the Cards this season.
Because half of the rest of them got injured.
Yeah, it's true. She actually ended up in center field once Hannah Fowle kind of had to say, I can't play center. I've had a little bit of an injury here. And once Otis transitioned out there, she's held that position ever since and done a fine job out there in center field for Louisville. Just a ball player who came in here, and just her enthusiasm, the way she goes after things and stuff, Jared's been so encouraging.
Yeah, and the fact she's only a freshman, we get her 3 more years is fantastic because she's already got that experience as a center fielder and being able to kind of captain the outfield out there. She had a lot of help with Carmen Greenwood, obviously, who's been a strong outfielder since the day she stepped foot on campus for us. And there was a little back and forth on if Corby or Carmen would take center field. And with Carmen having played left field for so many years, she was a lot more comfortable with that, but just also such a strong left fielder at that point. You don't want to move around and have to readjust everything because each of those outfield positions, you do have to play a lot different than what you think. You can't just rotate them around and expect them to be as efficient as they were if they were in left field or right field and you throw them in center.
We certainly hope that the Cards season isn't over, that they'll get the chance to compete in the NCAA tournament. We'll find out more about that obviously Sunday night. But just looking ahead, and it's the way too early look at next year of stuff. Of course, we don't know what's going to come in via the portal. We don't know how the freshmen are going to turn out. But what is returning for Louisville is basically, I think, 3/4 of their infield, right?
So I was anticipating this question.
Go with it then.
Yeah, I've got the roster pulled up. I've got it sorted by class. So here you go. Here is for this year's true freshman class. These are players that are going to come back as sophomores in the fall. You're going to recognize every one of these names. You got Dylan Cravens, Easton Lotus, who missed most of the season injured, right? Ali Alexander, Maddie Grant, Corby Otis, and Sambu. Right?
That's a strong 6.
Right? This is our true freshman class this year that came in, and every one of those was contributing well, at least up until injuries happened. Our sophomore class, Sydney Bickle made some contributions as a pinch runner on occasion. Vanessa Miller playing right field had some moments of good offense, certainly some potential there. Mia Forsyth again, pinch running. Gabby Holloway again, getting a little bit of time as pitcher. So, that's not a bad class either. But we got a lot of really young, very good players on this team that are going to be developing over the next several years. So, I think there's room to be positive here.
It definitely sounds that way, Jared. When you take a look at the losses, we've talked about what's coming back and everything like that. Obviously, Greenwood's gone. Jenna Survey, is she returning? She's another one that kind of comes to mind.
She's coming back. She's actually in graduation right now, according to her Instagram. However, she is going to come back for another year. She's got that another year still to work with, and whether she chooses to continue another bachelor's degree or master's, whatever, hey, we're happy to have her back. She's made some big plays. She's 5th on the team in batting average this year, so she stepped it up at the plate. The only position
she would be coming back for her senior year next year.
Right, she's graduating early. I guess we should clarify. Yes, she's graduating early.
Potentially, she's still playing 2 years with us with COVID, right?
Correct. So she got plenty of eligibility. The only one that I'm concerned on for position wise is catcher, because everybody's graduating. Kendall Smith's graduating. Cassidy Greenwood's graduating. Rebecca Chung was 3rd on the depth chart in terms of catcher. She's graduating. So besides hoping to get a strong freshman, I think you've really got to look at the transfer portal for that position.
Yeah. I mean, Allie Alexander's listed as a potential catcher, but she's too good at shortstop.
She's your shortstop right now,
Yeah, I think she's pretty much solidified her shortstop position, pending nothing crazy happening.
And the Cards have done that for years, putting freshman shortstops out there, and third baseman at time, letting them play all 4 or 5 years of their career at that position. Catching is a problem, though. You've got to worry about that, because certainly we got a very good one at a WKU for this season. The sad thing being is that she's gone, and Chung is gone. Cassidy Greenwood all gone. So
that could be a position where we go portal hunting for a catcher.
And I'm sure there's going to be certain good ones out there, but then again, there may be that one freshman catcher back there that just
shows up and like, okay, I'm ready to take the position.
So when Holly announced the full class coming in, I'd be very surprised if there aren't a couple catchers in that mix. Okay, I think there would be a couple. As far as left field goes, obviously having to replace Carmen out there, I think there's enough outfielders on this team, players on this team. Plus, you never know what's coming in once again via the portal, Jared, and also through obviously the freshmen coming in, that we can find a pretty decent outfielder to go with this bunch.
Yeah, sometimes you can take one of your speedsters that might have some outfield position experience from high school and throw them out there. I haven't looked to see who played what position in high school, so I can't really say, oh yeah, this person's going to be a great fit.
You could put Hannah Fowle out there. She's listed as an outfielder. She hasn't really played in the field
Easton Lotus
because of injuries. Easton's listed as infielder.
The thing is, I think Easton and Dylan are going to be battling it out for that second base position coming up, because Easton was the clear starter at the beginning of the season and started all 23 games till she got hurt. And then Dylan came in, and minus a couple games where I think Alana Ornelas had filled in briefly, Dylan had pretty much handled that second base position as well. And I thought both Easton and Dylan played phenomenally when they were at second. You put either of them with Allie at shortstop in your little turn 2 dynamic duo, is going to be fantastic.
It's an opportunity for, I'll tell you what it is. It's an opportunity for Sydney Bickle and Mia Forsyth to step up and say, I want that position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Both have adequate speed. They're fine at that. And I'm also going to be doing some in-depth studying and research, and also making all the phone calls I can to see if I can find Jordan McNary and Alicia Wolney that lost year of eligibility somewhere in there, and bring them back for one more
season. I mean, Wolney was first base, so that didn't help too much there. But
McNary, I'm going to be looking. I know she's got puppy responsibilities and things like that.
But I would love to have McNary back out there in left field.
And I would just love to see my little girl from down there in Madisonville, Kentucky, patrol that left field line one more time.
She was all over.
I think she's happy with her coaching duties now, but I'm sure if she had the opportunity to come back and play ball once again, she wouldn't hesitate to say no.
Player coach, I'm good with that. I think it'll work. So good things on the horizon for Louisville softball, and then certainly Holly's it's got the potential to have a really, really fine team. Mm-hmm. Anytime you get your ace and the pitching staff back, almost your entire infield intact, and almost your whole outfield intact. I mean, come on, let's face it. You get that many returning players, with experience and stuff like that. It could be very, very good for them.
2/3 of the outfield's coming back, with about the same in the infield, 3/4 maybe. I mean, we're actually I think, well positioned for the future here to develop and improve. There is definitely improvement needed, but we're positioned to be able to do that. So,
You've got to hope that Gabby Calloway has a healthy arm and can go a little bit. And of course, the pitchers that, especially Sambu. Let's hope that Sambu really develops well over the summer and comes back in next spring, and this is can be a contributor on that pitching mound as well. I've noticed some of these teams that are in the finals and going far in the ACC tournament, they've got a staff of 6 or 7 pitchers that are all throwing. I think we'd like to have that kind of depth if we could get it.
Yeah.
You want to give your pitchers a break. Let them rest.
It's interesting because I remember back, probably 10 years ago, watching, it was an Oklahoma team that went to the Women's College World Series with one pitcher the whole year. They pitched one pitcher the whole year, and it would never even, like, I think even relief, or like, just like, really? But they did. They went through the whole season that way. You just don't see that too much anymore.
Even last year, Clemson was using Valerie Cagle just about every time that they took the field. And she's got a little help there this year, but Clemson has gone that route.
And did well.
Oh, yeah, very well.
Too. Yeah.
Clemson had a very, very good season last year, and it's having another one this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, best of luck to softball. Let's go ahead and take it now to a little smaller ball, and let's take it to a bigger field. Women's golf was in the NCAA regional tournament. Their season, unfortunately, did come to a close, so the Cards run in against some pretty big heavyweights here, okay? Some very, very good golf squads. In Oregon, for example. Georgia was in their regional. Texas, TCU was in their regional. Florida was in there. Arizona, just almost an all-star list of teams that were competing. But the Cards went out there. They held their own. They finished 7th in the regional and tied with Sam Houston. Got good efforts out of their squad. Some of the ones that were hitting the ball really good. We had 3 golfers here, guys, finish in the top 30 of the individual scores with Kendall Griffith. We also had Myron Martin in there and Lauren Dipno. So Jared, we can't really shake our heads at saying this is not a good golf team. They really did well, I think, considered everything they had in front of them, and of course losing Lauren Hartledge.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid performance, and even the fact that they made another regional once again is remarkable. And they finished in the top half of their pool, their site that they had there. And, I don't think you can complain. I think you just we've relied so long on having 2 or 3 strong golfers that have kind of carried the team. I think the next step in the plan is being able to really round that out with 5 or 6 different players that could easily be the top performer on the team for each respective outing, and that's kind of where you go next for the Cards.
I think so indeed, and then of course, obviously, they've got the beautiful facility, which is down there on Floyd Street, and a very, very talented coach in Whitney Wade Young, and I'll tell you, I really like the way that they look coming up and for the future in golf, Jeff.
Whitney Wade Young's doing great things. It's great having her here, and I know you've had the opportunity to talk to her a few times. I think even before she was a coach here. So, it's exciting to see that team start to put together a little bit there as well. It's not a team we cover a lot. It's a little hard.
But, she's so much fun to be around too. And I'll tell you one thing: if Louisville ever develops power walking as a collegiate sport, I think Whitney jumps right on in there and just go ahead and it comes in as a post grad. That girl can flat put down her feet tracks. I was trying to keep up with her one day in the golf complex, and she was trying to show me everything that they were getting ready to add or had added and stuff like that. I was worn out after 10 minutes just trying to keep up with her.
Yeah.
We got to come over here and see this real quick. Look at look at the putting green. Okay, here, we'll walk over here. Wait a second. Where's my golf cart? So certainly good stuff coming out of her. We did get a little bit of basketball news that I think kind of maybe mystified a couple of us, but a few people expected it. And Alana Smith deciding that, hey, you know what? I know I said back in February I'm Cardinal true and true. I'm going to be here, but Alana did announce on Tuesday that she's going to be headed to Mississippi State to join Sam Purcell down there with his squad, the second Cardinal to go down there, in addition to Romani Parker. Let's take this one around the table. Did the move surprise you, Jared?
Not a lot, just because there's so many guards that are on this roster, and she's played more of that supporting cast role than anything this past year, and you kind of assumed it would be the same going forward with this upcoming season. So it's a good spot for her, as she's going to a place where she's already familiar with the new head coach who's trying to build a good program. Sam Purcell's another one in terms of philosophy, like Walls, where they love that quick offense and moving the ball up court and just keep things moving. And Alana Smith fits that philosophy very well. We already saw Romani Parker go there, so she's got a teammate she knows. So it's not going to be as strange of a move as coming to a brand new place that's already established and everybody else knows each other, and you're kind of like the outsider looking in. She's going to already feel right at home with some of her teammates and coaching staff.
You know, Jeff, before this, when of course obviously Chelsea Hall left after Keanu Smith left, that's two of our starting guards. I wondered if Alana might have been maybe a contender for one of those two guard spots along with Haley, and then maybe with someone else, and then all of a sudden, of course, we bring in some talented players. We've got some incoming freshmen coming in. The portal brings us a couple. I just wonder if Alana kind of took a look at the forest and said, "Hey, there's too many trees here. I think I'm going to go find a different pasture."
Yeah, that's what I'm attributing this one to. It's and you know, you can't blame her. It's she probably was gonna not end up with a huge amount of playing time, probably similar to what she played this past year, which isn't bad. She contributed. She contributed a lot, and that is we're very appreciative of that as Cardinal fans. You know, I like to talk about that L1C4 thing they did a little while back, and it was it may have been a little clunky as a marketing term, but the concept behind it, I think, is just a really great concept that, you may be moving on from here. You may be doing other things now, but hey, you've been a part of this program. You've been a part of building it. We appreciate you for that. And we'll continue to be your fan as you go forward and do other things. That's the mindset that I'm in for this type of situation with, everything in Mississippi State, Sam Purcell going in there, two of our players transferring there. Hey, yeah, okay. Go continue to be a little part of you is still a Cardinal down there, and we're still going to cheer you on, and we're still going to wish you well, because I can't fault these players for that.
No.
They want to play the game. They want to get out on the court. Yeah, we'll be okay. It's going to be ultimately probably better. I'm going to put air quotes on better for them, because they're going to get that playing time that they want to get. And okay, go for it. Wish you well. Wish you nothing but the best.
It's certainly so, and certainly a chance for players like Narika Kono and Peyton Verholst and some others to pick up some playing time. For Alana, it was Mississippi State will be her fourth school in her collegiate career. I know that sounds like a lot, but this journey for her actually started at UCLA. She left there after a season, went to Gulf Coast, and then after putting up phenomenal numbers at Gulf Coast, caught the eye of the cards and spent 2 years at Louisville, and now, of course, down at Mississippi State, down there to be a Bulldog. So get ready for the cowbells, if you like that kind of thing. And more importantly, with Sam Purcell, who basically was the one who brought her up from Gulf Coast and has seen her practice here for the last couple of years. I think he's got a good idea, Jared, of what she can do for this program.
Yeah, she brings a lot of energy and positive attitude, which that's an immediate check mark on any great coach's list. Is, are you a go-getter? Are you going to bring a positive attitude? And we've seen some players that might not have been as great of a fit in the past and have a poor attitude. And every program runs into those on occasion. Thankfully, Alana wasn't one of those. She's a hard worker. She puts forth 110% effort in practice, so it's not like she slaps around or do anything. So I'm sure St. Priscilla was thrilled to get her on board when she committed over there.
Yeah, and I think she'll do some good things there. I feel very confident that she'll be able to contribute to Sam's squad down there. And the only thing that I ask them to do, obviously, besides having a good season, is beat Kentucky. Go ahead and beat those cats for us. That would be almost as good as Louisville beating them. 3x Louisville Cardinals on a team that beat them. So
You trying to run Kyra Elsie out of Lexington?
I'm not going to try and run with her because I know she would beat me in any type of foot race we could ever have. But one of the things that I'd like to see here, and something that I think would be fun to do, is this: let's put her on the hot seat and let her decide. Hey, Matthew Mitchell left me this team. I'm trying to do the best I can with it, but you all aren't supporting me. We've heard that up there before, certainly at UK. But best of luck, obviously, to Alana as she goes on and gets her fourth start with another team. We'll see how well she plays.
Beat those Gamecocks.
Definitely. Well, yeah, that might be a little harder piece of a steak to cut than beating Kentucky. Okay, that's she's got Miss Staley does have a dynasty built down there.
Upsets happen.
Oh, they do. We can definitely speak for that. Well, one of the things that took place this morning, and we haven't gotten to yet, was the ACC Rowing Championships were going on. The cards came into those, the Rowing Championships, as they were a top 25 ranked team, which is pretty nice. You've got to really love the fact that in our rowing program, which Jeff and I have followed for a long time, hey, here we go. We're up there. Obviously there were some powerhouses in ACC rowing, and I think you got to start guys with Virginia, but Duke and Clemson, both very strong programs. Syracuse, an incredible program as well. Even Notre Dame and Miami, along with Louisville, have made some inroads here and have been done pretty good. But and if you've heard this one, stop me before. If you've heard this one, Virginia won again.
Yeah.
They made it a little close, Jeff, but still Virginia picks up. I think what is their 21st title in the last 22 years in the ACC.
Yeah, I think they may be kind of good at this whole rowing thing. So
yeah, Boston College gave them a good run for their money this time around, but it was still Virginia to take the title.
And certainly, they are a dynasty, I think, in rowing. I don't know how you get past that. But the cards, were at least made what they call the Petite Finals, and some of the other finals were. The way they do this, they can only run 6 boats at a time. So they obviously run the top 6. But if it's the same competition, then they'll run 3 or 4 other boats in the second heat of that, which are normally like your 7 through 10 boats out there. But Louisville didn't do too bad in some of these, although.
No, and in fact, I think here's where I was kind of disagreeing with you earlier. Like all of our top boats, every one of them advanced to the grand final.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not something that we usually say. I think it happened. I think they accomplished that in 2018 was the last time. But that's not a bad result. Right. Okay. I mean, maybe you look at what happened in the grand finals and say, okay, we wish we would have done a little better there. But to have all of your top boats advance to that position in the grand finals is, that's talking about breadth across the team, not just one boat being good. Now you're looking at the whole program being good, which is exciting to see.
And I'm not gonna throw out a ton of praise for coming 6 out of 6, okay? But still,
fair. But I'm saying let's look at the whole overall program and how the program.
At least we weren't 8 out of 6 or whatever. Some of the things that they were able to do, Jared. That they were able to actually set some new race result records for Louisville in some of the events. They set an all-time time record for the varsity 8, where it was 6 minutes and 36 seconds. The second varsity 8 set an all-time record for Louisville at 6:51, which is not bad. The varsity 4 was in there with an all-time new record for them at 7:25. So the programs are growing and the program's improving. I think is in there in such a strong conference right now, guys.
Yeah.
You know, the growth may not appear to be much to the rest of the conference when they look at it, but for us, I will give you to Jeff that it was something that it's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, this is another sport where middle pack of the conference is pretty impressive on a national level. So, it's you have to put that in a little bit of context, like you have to do for lacrosse and field hockey, particularly in those two sports as well. So, yeah.
I think you do indeed.
Now,
all
they've
right,
grown
Jared,
a
what
lot
else
from
you
when I
got?
was a freshman, though. The day I stepped foot on campus as a freshman, which is almost 10 years ago to the day at this point, they had people out there by the student center recruiting for the
Yeah.
rowing team because they
You want
needed
to come row?
rowers.
Yeah.
Right, so they're picking people off the street for the most part when I was
Yeah.
a student, and that was only 10 years ago. So the fact that they've been able to not have to do that anymore, start getting people to come into Louisville just to be a rower, like any other sport, you have people that come to a school because they're going to play a certain sport, and the fact these times keep getting better does show that Louisville's heading in the right direction. It's not like they've plateaued or that they've just gone downhill and sunk.
Yeah, and I do think there's still some chance of that with rowing. You can still come in, walk into the SAC and say, at the beginning of the season and say, yeah, hey, I might be interested in trying rowing. And you get out there and enjoy it. You're probably not going to be, a star on the team doing that, but there's space for players for people to come in and do that. I think even today, but yeah, less so than used to be the case for sure.
And I think a lot of it has to do too with the company you keep.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're going to draw some pretty good candidates that are interested in Louisville rowing because they are in the ACC, which is a very strong rowing conference. And although Virginia may have said, we like you, but Louisville may look at that same recruit and say, hey, you were looked at by Virginia. How would you like to row against Virginia? How would you like to be on a team that could beat Virginia? Come on in here and see if you can make it happen for us. Very, very easy selling point there, I think, for the Cards to get good rowers on campus.
Yep.
All right, as we kind of roll into it, Jared, what else we need to cover? We haven't talked any track and field or women's golf yet. We did covered a little bit of women's golf, but track and field, obviously some things going on for the Cards in the ACC right now in that.
Yeah, you had Gabriella Leon and Sinclair Savage both win ACC titles at the ACC Outdoor Championships. So I think you need to give both of them credit. I'm just seeing what the actual marks numbers were for each of them here on this.
And I think at this moment right now, I think they're in a lightning delay. But
yeah. So the one of them looks like Leon cleared a height of 4.5 meters. So it's her second straight outdoor title. She had a couple teammates up there. One of them on the podium with her, Leah Welter, took third, and I'm going to butcher this name, so forgive me, but Oriane Viola took fifth in that. And then when you look over at what Savage did for the outdoor long jump, she had a mark of 6.65 meters, so great there. And she's got some company as well. Looks like Brooke Weimer finished fifth, and Ariel Lawrence posted seventh with her personal best mark in that. So great starts. And a lot of these, we've bragged on this before, but our field teams in the track and field have always just been wonderful and great and dominant. And we're seeing that again this weekend.
For years, we were noted as having one of the best either shot put or discus or hammer
throwers
throwing contingents in women's track and field in the nation. Not just the ACC, but in the entire nation.
Mm-hmm.
Just wondering how strong that is again this year. And obviously, we'll find out a little bit more about that today.
Doing fairly well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And certainly wish us the best of luck at it.
Doing some decent high jump, too.
Yeah, absolutely. High jump
Yeah.
as well. That's another one that's in there very good. So,
Yeah, I got a
where are they
former
holding
volley
these?
card that's been having a
Yeah.
great season with that.
Yeah, she has.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, Jeff. We've got a girl that we knew her as a volleyball player, but now all of a sudden, hey, she's making some inroads in jumping.
Yeah, she won the Louisville Invitational a couple of weeks ago in high jump. Didn't quite set a PR in that one, but it was pretty close. But she is competing today. The high jump doesn't get started until 6:00 this evening. So for women, so that's a little later in the day. But she'll be competing there. Emily Scott in there decided to move over to high jump for the season and have a little fun with that, and has seen some great success. So doing pretty well there. Her PR, we'll put this in context, was 1.81 meters. So to translate that would be her basically jumping over me standing. So, yeah,
Oof.
I mean, maybe brushing the top of my head as she goes, right?
Depends how long the hair is.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
That's very impressive. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, she would probably knock me down, but that's okay.
Yeah, you got a couple inches on me. But
It wouldn't. Yeah, I would even duck to give her the advantage.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, okay, let me just. There you go. Now you're over me.
Yeah.
Just don't land on my back, please. Good jump. So, all right, all good things going on. A lot of fun happening for everybody. So we can go ahead and kind of roll into the final thoughts of the show here. We've had an action-packed broadcast here so far, guys. So let's go ahead and get into some final thoughts here. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and start us out with your final thoughts?
Congratulations to Anna Stevenson, named the U.S. national team for volleyball. In preparation for a little bit of an odd event or set of events, Volleyball Nations League, in the way this event is set up, does kind of pull in a few extra players. So that probably helps a little bit. But they got 25 players on the roster. And then 14 of those will be chosen for each week's travel roster. And I think it's like 3 different weeks of play. So it'll be interesting to see 3 or 4. I don't remember now. But Anna Stevenson is now officially we can say is now U.S. women's national team. As far as I know, we only have one other player in the history of UofL volleyball that we can claim that for. Anybody want to take a guess?
Before my
Katie
time.
George?
Nope.
I don't think it's Katie. I think it's not. It couldn't be Lola because she would have gone back home for that.
Yeah, she would have been U.S.
Is it prior to that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to be back probably when I was in middle school. So
but it is someone you know. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
It's not
It's Sarah Drury. Now Sarah Pipkin.
Oh.
Yeah. She's now director of operations for the team. Yeah. She played with the national team for a few years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that one.
Yeah.
Very impressive indeed.
Was she the libero for them, I'm assuming?
The position of a libero didn't exist then.
So she's just a defensive specialist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a little bit about Anna. She did actually, since she did graduate in the fall, she was invited to play with Athletes Unlimited, turned them down, went to Turkey to play professional. It's just has been playing in Turkey professionally, and has come back to the U.S. to train for this event with the national team. So, good year for her, and I think she's getting married in October. So, yeah, lot going on for her. Lot great going on for her.
It always looks like pluses to me. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Jared, what you got?
I mentioned this early when we were going through scheduling, but just to reiterate, congratulations to everybody graduating. I know there's the commencement ceremony that's wrapping up now, and they've got another one for the other half of students this afternoon. It's a big accomplishment to be able to go through and graduate college, no matter what your degree may be. And then for those that are student athletes, and being able to graduate as well as continuing to excel at your respective sport is just, wonderful news. And I think it's worthy of a celebration for each of them.
Absolutely.
Definitely indeed. For my final shout out, I'm gonna take you to the WNBA, where a certain guard that thrilled Louisville fans in her time here is now beginning to have some very, very big success with the
Mhm.
Chicago Sky up there. No other than Dana Evans. That's right,
Putting
our
up some big
little
numbers.
big numbers indeed, Jeff. What are you talking about? Yes, they are. As she's averaging 19.5 points a game, has
Yeah.
taken over the point guard position, shooting 50% from the floor. That's pretty decent, I would think.
Yeah.
Also shooting 50% from 3-point range. Pretty good there as well. As a Dana, who obviously was doing some struggling last year down at Dallas when she was down there in her rookie season. Dallas said, if you really want her, Chicago, you can have her. Let's work something out here. And she came in and saw some meaningful time with Chicago.
Hey, she got that ring though.
Yeah, and did get the ring, which is very
Yeah.
nice. And just throw out the fans with some 3-point shooting exploits and all and everything else. But this year, Dana has come out and said, I kind of like to play a little bit more than that 7 minutes y'all been giving me. Let's say I get out there for about 30 minutes a game and show you what I can do. I think she's done it quite well.
Signed earlier with Jordan Brands.
Yeah,
right?
another nice move,
And
right?
is the first player to get a national championship with a Chicago team signed with Jordan Brands since, drumroll please, Michael Jordan.
Oh, my.
So, that's kind of nice too.
Time you can walk in arm with number 23 there,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive, that's for sure. But we all know that over her career at UofL, Dana was all about the hard work and all about the belief.
Yeah.
And believed in what she could do. And she was basically the one that if you neglected her on the other team, if you're an opposition team going
Make
up
you
against
pay.
her, she would definitely make you pay with interest due and also a finance charge. Dana was that good. And glad to see her continuing that up in Chicago, certainly for the Skies. So those are my final thoughts. Dana, still love you. You keep shooting, girl. Shoot till your arm falls out, as somebody likes to say on some broadcasts. Okay. But that'll do it for us. We appreciate everybody for signing in for the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Go to today's website, and also you can also go to today's article to find out how you can listen to this thing in its entirety, unless you tuned in later or you haven't heard it at all yet. But until next week, everybody have a great one. We'll see you later.